Tervetuloa!
Good evening, everyone, and welcome. This is Study and Stay in Turku 2025. We are your hosts for tonight. I'm Aima.
And I'm Kamran. Today, we'll be guiding you through an evening full of stories, insights, and inspiration for you to start or continue your professional journey here in Turku.
Speaking of which, how's your journey going so far?
Yeah, pretty good, pretty good. I've started to learn Finnish, to increase my market value.
Okay, so what Finnish words have you learned so far?
Kiitos, moikka.
I think we need to stop there and continue with the show, and maybe during the break we can discuss more about your Finnish language skills. Yeah. And with that, I would like to add that last year I was exactly in your place, excited, nervous, and not knowing what the future will bring. What helped me survive this time was listening to practical insights and answers from people who have actually done it. And today you are going to get all those answers right here.
Yep. So stay tuned and don't forget to join the discussion through the chat and participate in the polls through the event platform. Also, for those who are more interested in the application process itself, please don't forget to join tomorrow's webinar where it will be discussed in more details. Today, we're mostly going to cover what you should do once you are already here.
Exactly, and now I can walk you through today's program. So we are going to start with the University of Turku alumni as keynote speaker, followed by actionable insights from our career experts, and finally we are going to end with an alumni panel discussion rooted in real Turku experience. And with that, are you ready to know which doors to knock on? Because we have someone who has actually built the pathway. A University of Turku graduate who now secures digital communications at Ericsson by fighting the bad guys. His networking became his firewall, and today he will be talking about knock on the right doors, build friendships to kickstart your career. So please join me in welcoming Hassan Merghani.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. Not many years ago, actually, I was sitting in your place here wondering, what should I do with my life? And now, a few years later, I'm still wondering the same thing, but at least I'm not in the exact same spot. So I have some tips and stories. I'm going to share my personal journey, how I ended up here, being able to speak in front of you. Hopefully, you get some insight, some inspiration that can help you. Before we get started, just a quick note, first things first, don't take any advice as is. Take it always with a grain of salt. What does that mean? Consider two examples. One doctor that is giving a generic advice, a generic prescription to an undiagnosed disease to a patient that this doctor has never met. And then another doctor who is giving a personalized prescription to a patient that they haven't had an appointment with, and they understand their background and their condition and their health situation, and they give them a prescription. The moral of the story here is that me and everyone else today on stage and also online are going to be giving quite generic advice. What does that mean is that it has worked for us. Don't take everything and apply it as is and hope that it works for you. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But the key takeaway is nobody knows you better than yourself. So take this advice, understand your situation, and then see what you can do differently. I'm going to be talking about friendships, something maybe that is unexpected for a career expert discussion for how to get your career kick-started. But this is what has worked for me. Again, as said, friendships can be anything, and you can see that we have different types of people around us. If you look around here in the auditorium, you see a lot of people. Most likely you're sitting with your groups of friends next to the people you know you went to school with or you go to the same class with, but I implore you today to get to know people who are not in your immediate network. And there's always different types of people. For example, peers, which is most likely what you're going to see here more often. These are your peers. Then there are some mentors, people who have been there before. They could be professors, seniors, other people who are in the industry. You know them through other networks. And then there are people who are, I would call connectors. These are people who are already established in their networks. They have very strong, perhaps, social circles. They will help you get to know other people. And then there are so-called arrivals. These are people I personally see as someone that I would like to compete with. Let's face it, we all have that one person who we secretly envy, perhaps even a friend in our group, that they have done so well for themselves. And we always like to be like better than them. So you don't say that to your face, but to take this to your advantage. It can help you motivate and get inspired because you want to prove something to someone, maybe. And based on this, I also looked at friendships as doors. When I was a student here, you're more likely to open the door to someone that you know or you like if you hear a knock on your door instead of a stranger. What does that mean is the person behind the door is the gatekeeper. So you need to get some kind of game going on to know who this person is. Get to know them before you knock on the door. They might not be behind the door by the time you get to know them, but at some point they will get behind a door that you might want to knock. And guess what? You knock on that door, maybe they open the little window, they look through the lens and they see, oh, this is the person that we used to hang out with, or like we went to that event with together, or who really helped me do something, etc. So I'm going to open. I'm not going to be afraid of that person. This is a shortcut, but it always comes with some caveats. You have to have something solid to bring to the table, or in this case, to the area behind the door before that person can let you in. They're not going to let you in just because you're friendly, just because you're funny, just because you've had some history with them. So in terms of job search and getting to know the recruiters, for example, or the hiring managers, having a solid background, being qualified for the job is the bare minimum, is a foundation, is a prerequisite. And then after that, you're going to work on your building the connection with that person, trying to get to know them better so that when you are actually applying for this job, for example, in this scenario, that they know who you are. And in that, we're going to have later career experts who are going to give you very practical advice on how to do that. But my talk here today is going to be just more on the general level of how to actually build a network. Because just like you, I came to Finland not knowing anyone here, not having any network. So building this foundation for me was the most critical step before I even considered, applying for jobs. And this is how I did it. I have been very active, sometimes a little bit too much. I probably reached a burnout at some point. I have been trying to attend as many events as possible, trying to network with people, trying to go out to different student associations, being part of different boards, volunteering, just trying to put myself out there. And trust me, if you are about to start your studies, if you're a student right now, or if you're thinking about studying in Turku, this is the best time to build lifelong friendships. It's not going to get any easier from now on. You will not see it until you're out of it. When I stopped being a student, I realized I lost access to this massive group of people that I could tap into. Thousands of people who go to the same university. When you're out in the real life, not that this is not real, it is, but when you're not a student anymore, you have to put some extra effort into trying to get to know people. This one happens more organically. So if there is one thing that I wanted to take home with you today is make the most out of your student time to build as many connections, as many friendships as possible. And that means both focusing on quality and quantity. We always hear that quality over quantity is the best thing. I think the balance is always key. you have to cast your net very wide. You have to approach as many people as possible, put yourself out there, but also try to make those connections of high quality. Not just a person that you talk to for 5 minutes, not just someone you send a LinkedIn connection request to, and then you accumulate those connections, because this is what I used to do. And I did this for a long time, and then at some point I had like 1,000 plus connections on LinkedIn, and I was still like, I don't know what to do. They didn't translate to anything practical or tangible, so probably not the best way to do it, but as long as you have access to those people in person, I highly recommend you to get involved with them in some activities. And there are certain things that you can do to actually, in practice, build those friendships, build those connections. What has really worked for me is that you see, I put words like this here: curiosity, generosity, consistency, authenticity, but these are really positive and just like very beautiful words to hear, but like, what does that actually mean in practice? So how do I get curious or generous when I'm asking for help? When I am building connections. It's really not that complicated. You just ask questions when you're talking and listen carefully to what the people are saying. Offer to help, and this is key. You have to always be generous, because people, human beings in general, we are inclined to give back when someone offers us help. And also follow up if someone asks you about something. Maybe you offered help with a specific topic, or you said like, oh, I know this person who knows that person, and I connect you, and you actually connect them later on. Just follow up and see how things are going. People really appreciate that. And keep in mind that not every connection will work out. Sometimes you will have someone that you have helped a lot, and you don't really get anything in return. So see relationships as investments. They might be fruitful. You might have a return on investment, or you might not. This is just life. There is nothing you can do about it. But at the same time, approaching this with a very positive mindset means that you will always have the best version of yourself out there. And the worst case scenario is just you made the world a better place, so why not? And you have to get some keys for your doors. Is what I mean by this is that just having the door. Let's say, for example, there is a situation where there is a job that you might be very interested in, and a former peer of yours or someone you went to an event with at the university just happened to be inside that company already. Maybe he or she is already the hiring manager, or maybe someone who knows the people, etc. So it's obviously very helpful if you know these people. But when you're actually networking, some very practical advice to be memorable when you're actually networking is, first of all, it sounds very simple, but just remember people's names. When you meet someone and introduce yourself for the first time, I say, hi, my name is Hassan, and they say, hello, my name is Robert. I have to remember that they are Robert. And it's a good tip is just to use their name in the conversation later on, and use their name. Don't use it too much, of course. There's always balance. At some point, you're going to sound a bit too creepy if I'm going to say Robert, 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 Robert after every sentence. And I have to offer something. This is a personal preference of mine, that I'll let them talk a little bit about themselves. I see that they need something or they're interested in a specific area. I always offer without asking for anything in return. And then stay relevant means just put yourself out there. For example, here there is a big group of people out in the world. When you're going to be applying for jobs, there's also going to be a good big group of people. So how do you stand out? If I, hypothetically speaking, was a recruiter right now and you're all applicants, I don't see any specific person standing out. So a lot of people are going to be like, all right, how do I make myself visible for this person? Well, in this specific scenario, like for example, if you ask a question, then I remember your name. I remember your question. I remember your face. We have a networking hour later after this event. Try to make as much conversations with people you know to get to know them. This will help you become more relevant and stay in their mind. It's going to take time, but trust the process. Believe me, it works. Consistency is key. It's always going to work at the end. And I have a little story to share. Now, this is a little bit, don't try this at home, but doors are meant to be knocked on, not used to breaking. But this is an alternative. In case you have knocked on some doors and no one opened for you, you have to be a little bit creative and to make yourself, seen to the people. One of the previous jobs I had was at a company that I really admired, and I thought it's going to be my dream job. I didn't have any connections to that company. I didn't have someone who can let me in. I didn't even have the exact qualification that is needed. But I did a little bit of, let's say, research on the CEO of that company. I followed him online. I tracked his every move legally. I found out where he was going and what kind of events he attended. I tried to follow him a little bit more. Don't try this at home, but of course I didn't break any law or something. I just figured, everything is online and people put their self out there. So he was attending event X on this day, and that event is closed. It's invite only. And you have to pay, and as a broke student, I didn't have much money, so I'm not going to get into the details, but I managed to get in the event somehow. I was at the venue, and I managed to even put myself on the attendee list. I had a very specific goal, and I put a plan to go after it. The event has some app for networking where you can connect with the people, and because it's invite only and closed, so people are most likely to respond because there's not like a huge amount of people. So I found this person, I created a profile, and I found the CEO, and I sent him a message. I was a little bit maybe aggressive, and I asked him, look, you have no idea how much trouble I got into to get here. Either you meet me or I put something there in the message to make it very memorable. Of course, most of the messages that he will receive are going to be like, hi X, it would be nice to meet you, blah, 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 regards, like very traditional. But this one caught his eye because my language was different, and I did that on purpose. So I ended up having a meeting with him on the spot at the event. He accepted my invitation. He told me, I didn't expect this, I don't know who you are, how you got here, but you managed to get my attention, and we need that kind of energy. So come meet me at my office on this day, at that time. And this was the key for me to get access. But this is, again, something that you might want to try with a little bit of caution. It's much better if I had already made some other ways on knocking on this door so it can be open to me. But this is one situation where I managed to breaking instead of knocking. And before I let you go, I want this to be very practical, so I want you to act literally now. And again, trust the process. As I said earlier, it's going to take some time, but don't leave from here today until you connect with at least 2 or 3 new people, and make this a habit. So set a goal for yourself, I don't know, every week, every month. This is the time to collect as many connections as possible. We have the networking hour later, and we have a networking game, so make sure to do that. 2, 3 people, minimum, at least today. I will be checking in on you after the event to make sure you did that. And I don't count if you come talk with me, so 2 new 3 people every day or every week, depending on your goal. Again, trust the process. It's going to take some time, but it will work out at the end of the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Hassan, for the inspiring talk. We have a lot of questions for you, but keeping the time in mind, I'll ask you the first question. So your talk was about yourself, and you seem like an extrovert. What would be your advice for introverts? How do they network?
Surprise, I'm not an extrovert, and
Okay.
I don't have good advice here, but I do have advice on how to take advice from other people who are claiming to give you advice. As I said earlier, take every advice with a grain of salt. So if you are uncomfortable talking to new people, you have to manufacture a situation or a scenario where the interaction will happen organically. For example, I referred already to the networking event and networking game that we're going to have here earlier. So this is something that is set up in place to make this interaction organic. So when you're playing the game, when you're going up to someone to introduce yourself or whatever the game might ask you to do, they will not be like, who is this stranger? Like, why are you talking to me? So in real life, try to find out some situations where you have this interaction happen organically instead of approaching other people out in the cold and not getting a response. If you're really uncomfortable, it's just going to take you more time to practice. Like that's the only way to overcome it. You have to put yourself out there, get rejected more often, get uncomfortable. Eventually, it will come naturally. No one is born with it, neither am I. So this is a good advice.
Very good advice. And then somebody was asking that Finns are not known to encourage small talk. So how do you cater that?
Well, if I had the perfect answer, I would change the culture of an entire nation, but that's not really possible. You just have to understand that you have to adapt to every culture that you're part of. Sure, small talk is not very common here, but it's not frowned upon. Surprise. Sometimes you actually get to talk to someone, and maybe a Finn, they are a little bit taken aback at first, like, what is this person trying to do with me? But then it will, they will not push you away. I have put myself in situations like this where I just wanted to become comfortable with the uncomfort of small talk, and it worked. If you have very specific reasons, if you have like a goal to get out of this interaction, I would say always lead with your intention so that they understand why you're talking to them. You'd be surprised that most people are very friendly, especially people in Finland are quite friendly and open to talking to strangers if you approach them. Most likely they won't make the first move, but you're not going to be shot in the head if someone, if you try to speak to someone. So don't overthink it. Yeah, just do it. It really works.
Yeah. Okay, so we have time for another question. Another person was asking that, actually I'll combine these two. So they're saying that because Turku is a small city, so does that affect the networking? And also, does Finnish language affect that as well? Like, do you need to know some language to network with people, or is it okay?
Here's another take. A small city is the best place to make networks instead of a bigger city. Consider a village scenario where you know the local farmer, the butcher, the people who are selling you stuff. It's a small community and people are more likely to get to know each other. Just before coming here, I was chatting with some people and I realized we have some friends in common, and you never get that kind of privilege in a bigger city. So this is really a great opportunity. There is some study that says that you have maximum 3 or 4 connections between you and literally everyone you want to get connected to, even the president of whatever country. If you put that in practice, you will be surprised. Like I can connect you with someone else who will connect you immediately with the CEO of the biggest American company. And I realized I actually have those connections, but I never really made use of them because I never needed them. And a small city is a really great one to do that. I will emphasize on Aima's last note and question is, please don't listen to the people who tell you that the Finnish language is difficult. I've been living here for about 10 years now. I'm not by any means a native speaker, but my level of Finnish language is pretty decent. I can communicate quite well. It will help you. If anything, think of it as it's something that you do when you travel. Whenever you go to another country, you learn how the local transport works to get around. You know, you understand what kind of food they have to be able to eat. You memorize the street names so you can find your way. A language is just one of those things that you learn when you move to a new country. You understand how to navigate the society. Please invest time in learning the language. It's not that difficult. It's just in your head. If you want to learn it, you will. A lot of people did. It's very doable.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Hassan, for your very, very good advice. And I second that whatever he's talking about, it's really good. So thank you. And with that, I think we need to move to the next part. But before that, I would like to remind you all to please answer the polls, because we are going to use your input into shaping our panel discussion. So now we are going to move to the practical heart of tonight, which is our career experts. From the employer side, we have Nural Idrisoglu, Regional HR Team Lead at Wärtsilä. And from the city's soft landing and integration services, we have Roza Pambukchyan, Service Coordinator at International House Turku. Please welcome them. Thank you so much for joining me on stage. And before we dive into the real questions, I would like if you guys can introduce yourself to the audience so they can know you more, and maybe we can start with Nural.
Of course, I'm Nural Idrisoglu. I moved here in November 2017, so it's going to be very soon 8 years. I am originally from Turkey, and we moved here because my husband was offered a job opportunity. And now I'm currently working in Wärtsilä as a team lead in one of the HR departments.
Yeah. And maybe, Roza, you can continue.
Yes, hi, I'm Roza Pambukchyan. I moved to Finland, not from too far away from Nural, from Armenia, the neighboring country, and it's going to be the 10th year that I've been here. So currently, I'm working for the city of Turku in integration services, providing advice and guidance to the internationals.
What a beautiful blend of career and integration. So my first question is from you, Nural. How did you land your first role at Wärtsilä?
Well, as I said, I moved here 8 years ago, but I didn't jump directly into the work environment. In between, I had 2 kids. When my second son was about half year, a little bit more, I decided that, okay, it's now time to return to a full-time career here in Finland. And at that point, I was lucky enough to get some coaching from the TE office in unemployment. Okay. And the advice the coach gave about how to shape my CV, how to be intentional in making applications, and all of those, I guess, worked in my favor. And I started as a specialist in what is called the People Support Hub in Wärtsilä. And from there, moved inside the team, and now it's soon going to be 4 years.
Oh, okay, 4 years. So, because you have been in Wärtsilä for almost 4 years, and you have had a very internal mobility. Yeah. So how do you describe that? How were you able to achieve that?
I think Wärtsilä is a very open country in terms of company in terms of movement inside. As mentioned, I started as a specialist, then I became a senior specialist, and now currently leading a 10-people team. It's very international. My current line manager is in Norway. We have team members in both Sweden, Poland, and 3 locations in Finland. So it's quite a dynamic environment, and there is usually positions both inside as temporary opportunities or permanent opportunities that you can move to.
Oh, that's really nice. And because you've been in Wärtsilä for almost 4 years, how would you describe the work culture there? How are you liking it so far?
I personally love it. It's very open, dynamic, and I can share all my thoughts, comments, concerns very freely. It's not really hierarchical. Of course, there's the reporting lines, but you can reach to different levels within the company and share your thoughts there. Coming from an international background, for me, one of the benefits is having other colleagues that are from different cultures. I think one of the questions previously was Finnish. For me, the working language is English, so that really helps me as well.
Oh, so I think that's really interesting, Wärtsilä being such an international company. So I think it will be very lucrative for our audience as well. So I was just wondering, are there any like traineeships or early career programs that you guys offer that can be helpful for like some entry points for our audience?
Of course. I think year-round we hire about 800 trainees, about 600 during the summer, and an additional 200 or so during the winter months. The application period for this year will start after Christmas, so beginning of January, and will run until mid-February. Most of the positions don't require Finnish if you are new here. Of course, there are some specific departments that would require that, but there's quite many opportunities. And there are people in the company that have started as trainees and are here for more than 15 years. So it's, I think, a great opportunity to get your career started.
I think you got your first answers here that you can actually get into this traineeship program and then progress. God knows you might just progress there. So thank you so much for this really good advice and all this inspiring talk. So now I think I'll move to Roza. And Roza, maybe we can briefly start with your services that you guys provide to internationals that are coming to Turku.
Yeah, sure. So, like I mentioned earlier, I'm working for the City of Turku International Integration Services, meaning that it's aimed at all the internationals whose native language is not Finnish or Swedish. So, whether you have just moved to Turku, whether you are planning to move, you have not even arrived here, but you know that you are arriving here. So we are providing advisory services, and particularly for the target group of this event, the international students, we also have international student support services. So anybody who is a student can be in touch with my colleague, and then they can discuss, let's say, be that their career path, be that anything related with their, let's say, permits, can be like a job search or anything, but we're also supporting the family members. So we are trying in the city to view internationals as a whole, as somebody who's moving here. We want them to integrate and be part of the city and stay here and possibly find a work as well. And currently I would like to mention that we have over 15 plus languages that we provide guidance in. So let's say, though you are international students, you probably know English, but if it's not your most comfortable language, you might also find one of the languages that is your native language and come and talk to us.
That was really good information, and because the best part is that you don't consider internationals only the students who are coming here, but also the families, so they feel integrated as well. And with that, I would like to move to my next question, which is that obviously I understand that internationals come from a very versatile background, so they have different problems that they face. But are there some common pitfalls that you see commonly, and if you can address them so our audience know how to avoid them?
Yeah, I feel like that's the million-dollar question, and obviously I'm not going to have a very specific answer and a very general one like Hassan mentioned earlier, but I think one of the common ones usually is that internationals tend to focus very much on one thing. Like I said, the life in here is not something that is just one side, so it's not just a job, but it's a combination of all the things. So as somebody moving here and let's say studying, if you only concentrate on the studies, by the time that you're graduating, you might realize that I do not know anybody here, I am not familiar with the job market, I don't even know what the situation here is, so what is my next step? Of course, like I mentioned, International House Turku is here to help in that situations, but you have to actively build that connection, because let's face it, Internationals coming here, we don't have all the networks, we don't have the history of meeting all the people, just like the locals do. So viewing it wholly and kind of planning ahead, also chiming back to what Nural mentioned earlier, let's say if you're planning to have a summer job, you have to think about it already back in winter. So pre-planning, thinking that, okay, I graduate, then maybe I need a residence permit, maybe I need to register more. How do I do that? How do I plan for it? So maybe those are the common things. Another thing, again, was mentioned, the language. You don't have to be perfect at all, but try at least a little bit. That's definitely going to put you in a better position, because knowing the language is like the password, the key code to breaking into the culture, understanding, and feeling more at home. Because what I like to think, I would maybe very bravely say that I feel quite integrated in Finland. One reason is that I myself do not feel as an outsider, because I have been able to understand the culture, learn the language. So that's maybe another thing. But I guess other than that, I won't keep on talking with all the possible options. If you have any questions, you can maybe book a time and then we can individually discuss that.
Definitely. So it's just a question out of curiosity, because we're sitting right here in Turku. Do you think that Turku is positioned to be better than other cities in some regard? Like generally, is it like some things are better here in Turku? I would like you to discuss them maybe.
As a resident of the city of Turku, absolutely. Turku is the best place to be in Finland. And I think that was also already mentioned earlier, that it's big enough that it has a lot of services. But at the same time, it's small enough that it's comfortable and it does not take you too much effort to go through the things. Let's say, talking even about commute. Here in Turku, you can very comfortably from all around Turku get to, let's say, downtown area within max about 20 minutes. So that's a great thing that saves your time, that saves your energy. That's one thing. Then it's a very international place in a sense that we do have all the universities. Yearly, annually, we do get many international students, researchers, company workers. So it's quite an international place, believe it or not, to be. So I would say that it's a great place to be. And of course, the connections, because we have the harbor, you can jump on a ship and go to Stockholm, wherever. We have an airport, and we have a beautiful archipelago. So it's a beautiful place to explore, and nice nature.
Definitely, very close to nature and very beautiful. And after this, I think people would be wanting to meet you. So how can they connect with you, and how can they book an appointment? Like you just mentioned that they can book an appointment and discuss how they want to proceed with things.
Yes, so pretty much the official way would be to go to the Turku.fi, the city page, and from there find the integration services, International House Turku, and book a time. So again, you're able to choose your own time, and particularly for the services that I provide would be the soft landing services. But other than that, of course, we talked about networking. I also have LinkedIn profile, so if anybody feels like adding me, Ed, Roza, Pambukchyan. You're probably not going to be able to remember or spell my surname, but I'm pretty sure it's in the program, so I can find it.
Definitely. With a heavy heart, I think we need to end this segment, because I was really enjoying talking to both of you. But thank you once again for all the valuable insights, and I'm sure that the viewers online and on-site would have found this information incredibly helpful. Thank you so much. Okay, so now it's time to move to the bigger picture, which is our panel discussion. And in the panel discussion, we are going to combine their insights with our alumni who have actually built their careers here. But before I invite them on stage, I would remind you all again that you can submit your questions in the chat and on the event app so that we can use them during our panel discussion. And also, if you haven't responded to the polls yet, this is your last call. Please do so that we can use them in our panel discussion. And with that, I think now it's time to call our alumni on stage. So please welcome Mahnoor and Benjamin on stage.
Okay, great to see you here. Thank you for being here. Before we dive into our discussion, few points I want to mention. First, please don't forget to participate in the chat. We have Aima here who will be monitoring it, and if you have any worthy questions for our panel discussion, we'll try to include it as well. And with that out of the way, I would kindly ask our alumni to introduce themselves. Please tell us, what do you do, what did you study, and when you came to Turku. Let's start with Benjamin and then move on to Mahnoor.
Hi, and thanks for having us here. My name is Benjamin Faez, and I work as an educational counselor at the Turun AKK, which is the Adult Education Center here in Turku. And I moved in end of the 2012 to Finland from the Netherlands, and I studied Bachelor of Business Administration, graduated in 2024.
Hello everyone, my name is Mahnoor, and I work as machine learning specialist at CSC IT Center for Science. And I moved to Turku in 2023 as a master's student in biomedical imaging from University of Turku.
Great, great. Thank you. Well, first, before we go into juice of our panel, I would like to play a little game with you all called Agree and Disagree. Rules are pretty self-explanatory, but yet again, you can find a agree and disagree cards, which you already have on your hands. Rules are pretty simple. If you agree with the statement, raise a agree flag. If you disagree with the statement, raise the disagree flag. If you can't decide, you can, well, raise the both, but it's cheating, so. Yeah. Here is the first statement. It's just a warm-up one to see if you understood the rules of the game. I understood that I should raise the disagree flag if I don't disagree with the agreeing that I understand the rules. Okay. Yeah, great. Yeah, it's a pretty hard game, I get it, but hope you'll get the hold of it in the next round. But the joke aside, sorry for that. Let's start with our actual statement. It's been mentioned before, and in the previous years as well, but it's a crucial topic that we should probably touch. Finnish language is the biggest barrier to employment. Okay. Wow, okay, so we all disagree that it's not. Okay, what would you say is, like in the one sentence, well, let's go one by one, from Roza to Benjamin.
Well, first of all, I said no because I don't think it's the biggest one. It might be a big one, but definitely not the biggest. I would say, I already used like 5 sentences. In one sentence, maybe, again, knowing the correct people and using the correct timing.
So we would say network.
Yes.
If we make it broadly.
We can maybe, try to sum it up in that.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I would agree with what you're saying, but also there are, like for me, I came across an opportunity that didn't require Finnish to start with. So maybe in the beginning, looking out for those would also help, and Finnish wouldn't be the biggest obstacle.
Okay, so I said no because, Finnish language is an issue, but not the biggest one. You can survive and have a good career without the language as well. Just you need to have open and accept challenges and challenge yourself as well. So then you can have a good path.
Okay. Benjamin?
Yeah, I totally agree with them. It's not the biggest one. It might be one of the biggest, but it's not the one. And I always also tell our students at my work that if you want to do something, you will find 100 reasons why you should do it. And if you don't want to do it, you will find 1,000 reasons why not to do it. So if you find the right reason for yourself to learn the language, you will learn it.
Okay. So it's an interesting perspective because you hear implying that learning that not knowing the language itself is not the problem, but learning is easy. That's why it's not the problem, right?
Yeah.
Not because it's not being
It's
used here.
doable, so it's something that you can do it.
Okay, interesting.
We all done it, so.
Yeah, I'm trying to, yes, you can see. I'm being told that we have results. I don't have any radio here, so I don't know if it's true, but I hope so that we have. Yes, we actually do have results from our first poll that I hope everyone participated in, right? Yeah. Okay, the question to the first poll, if we can have it here on the screen, is what's the biggest challenge international students face when job hunting in Finland? So we did a little trick on you, asking our audience, what do they think the biggest challenge is? The options are lack of personal networks, limited work experience in Finland, difficulty in understanding the Finnish job market and culture, visa and permit, which is dead last, and language barrier, which is actually first. So we can see that for the students at least, language barrier is quite substantial. But again, that might be because of the lack of experience, right? So here, the other interesting inquiries were difficulty to understand the Finnish job market culture. Do you think that it's also a substantial roadblock, or it is easy to get integrated in that work culture? What would you say? Let's go again from Roza.
I do believe that it can be a substantial issue, because if you do not have enough knowledge about the local job market, then you're probably trying in ways that do not work, aka you are using a key that does not fit the keyhole. So understanding it definitely helps.
Okay.
I agree. And from my experience and the friends I have here, landing your first job is the hardest. After that, after you get more adjusted to the culture here and the work environment here, it's easier to move forward. So just getting that first step is tricky.
Yeah, I also agree with my colleagues. Yes, you actually have to understand the market. For example, I would give a very basic example of how your resume should look like for a Finnish market as compared to any non-Finnish market outside abroad. So that's one of the basic things that you first have to polish, and then you can network and get your good connections.
So just your application to the Finnish job market.
Yes, understanding how to process with the application. So, yeah.
Interesting. Do you
Yeah, I
anything
think
to add?
everything is said, so nothing to add to it.
Well, that's an interesting entry point here, because I have a more of a targeted question. I'm sorry, to you, Miss.
Okay.
Nural. Yeah. Since you are working in more international environment, would you say that working in the international teams, do they all bring their unique cultures, or do everyone try to assimilate to the Finnish one?
My experience, everyone is their own unique selves. So we have, in a team of 10, everyone is very individual, and there may be challenges at times, but we, of course, are all professional and trying to meet in the middle, but I wouldn't say that we try to assimilate in a way, and rather everyone's uniqueness is celebrated.
Okay, good to know. Well, let's move on to our second agree and disagree question, so prepare your cards. This is more of a personal one. I experienced work culture shock when I started working at the Finnish company. Ooh, we have disagreement, finally, yes. Okay.
Okay. Well, when I first started in Wärtsilä, my manager was located in France. It's been 4 years. I haven't yet seen her. We had colleagues at that point in more countries. So, and it was the COVID time, so I wasn't even in the office, so it wasn't really a shock.
So you being in the more international team,
Yeah.
you didn't experience that much of a shock. Okay, but let's hear from the others. I'm curious what kind of shock you did experience. So if you don't mind, Rosa, let's start again.
Sure, I guess I can share because, like, again, when you move in at the beginning, you experience the most of the shocks because you're fresh, you bring in the burden of your background, you start constantly comparing to what it used to be back at home. And having lived in Armenia and living in another country with a more conservative working culture, for me, the biggest shock in Finland was the relaxedness of the working environment. So if I give you a specific example, I was working in a school where the vice headmaster, a lady around her 60s, walked in very short jean shorts. And that would be an absolute no-no in the countries where I worked. And I thought that, how can this be professional? Is it even acceptable and whatnot? And similar scenarios and events. Then now, having been here, having lived here for 10 years, I do understand and I appreciate and I very much like the culture of being who you are, appearance-wise, that does not take away your professionalism. So,
But
yeah.
talking, well, this is more of a, let's say, a professional appearance at the workplace, but about the work itself. For example, I'm not sure how it was in your work culture, but in mine, it's normal for a person to stay later until they did their task, which is not very frowned upon in Finland, I would say. So how did you navigate through that corner?
Yes, that's a very good question. And again, there was a lesson learned hard through an experience because, again, having come from a different working culture where being hardworking, putting in the over hours, showing how determined you are, how good of a worker you are, but guess what, not in Finland. Because in here, it's very specifically calculated that if you need about 8 hours to successfully do this work, if you're a professional, you're trusted, then you try to do it within those 8 hours. So again, I remember in one of the workplaces, me trying to stay over, working late. I started actually by that putting pressure on the other colleagues who were starting to question themselves that, oh, if Rosa is staying over, are we not actually doing our job? Well, what is going on? So it started in a way toxically affecting the group kind of like atmosphere. So, and again, I love Finland for that reason that we have, again, another maybe buzzword, but we have a very good work-life balance here where you have your life, you have your work, you do the job, and once it's over, then, you know,
You get out.
enjoy your personal life.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. Mahnoor, I would like to hear what's your culture shock.
Yeah, sure. So actually, it was not the very biggest professional cultural shock. So it's a kind of a very funny thing as well. So I agree with Rosa as well that, yeah, Finnish people are very helpful when you go and ask them for anything. But one of the things that I noticed was in my office when we used to have some coffee break. So it's very common in Finnish people, like if you don't have anything productive to say, so they keep sitting silent. So that silence was a bit awkward for me in the start, and I feel very pressured, like maybe I have to say something, because I come from a different background where you have to talk non-stop and stuff like that, and even it like
Constantly
just to keep
provide
the-
something to the conversation.
Exactly. So that was one of the things, but it was really good for my introvert nature that, okay, now I don't have much pressure and I don't have to speak that much and let it go like it is. So that is one of the things that I really like in the Finnish environment. And yeah.
Would you say that it helped you I would put it in simple terms, it would do more work since you didn't have to maintain your social battery by talking to your coworkers all the time?
Exactly, I agree with that. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Thank you. Benjamin, what was your shock?
Yeah, it wasn't actually a shock for me. It was a few weeks ago when I was in the class, so teaching the digitalization and digital techniques. And one of the students, it was a fragrance class, so we were talking about the Finnish culture. And one of the students asked me, so how can I become real good friend with my co-workers, with my colleagues at work. And that's my point at this moment of what I want to bring in. It might be in one of our countries, for example, that we get really close friends with our colleagues within very fast time, especially in the Middle East countries or other countries. But that doesn't happen in Finland. Be aware of that, and I would say don't even expect it. It doesn't mean nothing negative that they don't like you, but they see you as a colleague and they work with you, but outside, maybe they don't even say hi. It doesn't mean that they don't like you. But that's just the work culture. But just to bring another funny part in it, that they said that Finnish people, they are not good in small talks. But when it comes to pikkujoulu, they call it in Finnish, so small Christmas, when you get to the pikkujoulu of the company where you work in, you will see the totally different people. That was the biggest shock for me when, for the first time, I see my colleagues in that party. So it was a positive shock.
If somebody asks what's the best opportunity to get to know your coworkers, just wait for pikkujoulu and it will
open your eyes, definitely.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for your answers. We have another poll question here. So we would like to know what is the best aspect of a Finnish work culture. The answers were work-life balance, flat hierarchical structure, employee benefits and security, inclusive and equal treatment, and trust and autonomy in the workplace. Well, there is one option that just beats everyone else without any chances, like work-life balance. And I think from hearing your stories, we pretty much agree that this is the best aspect of the modern working culture in Finland. Do you want to add anything about the work-life balance? Yes, please.
I would like to compare it to the Netherlands work culture, where I used to live and work there for 15 years. I agree with that, definitely, and I would even think about it to put maybe trust and work-life balance at the same point. Work-life balance, absolutely, I agree, and that was one of the biggest reasons why I moved from the Netherlands to Finland, and why I bring or trust at the same number one or at the top, because in some of the countries it might be that if you say something, you promise something, then they have someone or some supervisor has to check it, that does it go the same way that you promised. In Finland, when they say something, they will do it, and you don't have to ask them again, or the supervisor, the employer, they trust their employees, and it's the other way as well.
So, for example, if you would say that, oh, okay, I felt ill that day, your employer won't ask you for the certificate from the doctor signed the next day that you've actually been ill.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. If, for example, I feel sick tomorrow and I'll just send a message to my supervisor that I don't feel well, and for 1 week I can have that sick leave just with one message. And if I compare it to the Netherlands, if I do the same in the Netherlands, I have to be at the same address that my employers know, and it might be that at some point, some doctor or nurse will come to my house to check if I'm really sick with the sick leave. So they have the right to do it, so that you don't lie about it. So that's how big trust it is in the Finnish work culture.
Yeah. Well, let's not comment anything about Dutch work culture here. It might be a separate talk or event. And we have a third agree and disagree statement, which I actually find the most curious one. Here, we talked a lot about network. Hassan's talk was basically about making friends and finding your own network. But here's the question. Here's the statement. International people in Turku often find it challenging to expand their network beyond the international bubble. Okay. Oh, wow. We had a jackpot.
Yay.
Nice. Okay, let's remember your answers and let's go one by one why you agree or disagree. Roza, please.
Okay, so I answered from my personal point of view. And personally, for me, it has not been that difficult because, like I said, I've never classified myself as a foreigner, as an outsider. So wherever I go, I try to put on the local glasses and try to view a little bit, okay, what are the locals doing? For example, after I moved to Finland, I got into knitting. Before, I used to think that this is something grannies do. I would never see myself wasting the time fighting with the needles, you know. But now I love it. I'm doing it because it's a big part of the Finnish culture. And what happened through that, let's say, curiosity of trying to find out, okay, what do the locals do? You know, then you find out multiple events. You find out circles and things that you can do, which kind of brings out and bursts that bubble. So maybe very daringly, I would say that it's up to you. If you find yourself in a bubble, maybe you should look in the mirror and blame yourself for that, because honestly, there are multiple associations, NGOs, clubs, hobbies. And again, remember, do not classify yourself in a silo of, I'm a student and I only study. No, you are a human. You have interests. You have things that you like. Maybe culture. Culture is not your thing. Maybe sports. Maybe something else. Sightseeing. Maybe bars for some people. So Finnish people, I think earlier also mentioned in the speech, you know, they are not as reserved as you might think. So just tap like on that door and definitely a lot will open. So that was my personal experience.
Okay.
And I think mine sort of aligns with what you're saying, that maybe I need to look back at myself. Because when I first moved here, I had the language courses, and I was pregnant, so I couldn't even finish the course I was going to, which ended up making me get stuck in a little bubble of, like, I only knew internationals. I didn't know any Finns. And now at work, most of my colleagues are internationals, either living here or living abroad. Again, I'm still in a way stuck in a little bubble with internationals, that I don't have as many Finns that I know. And I feel like, well, they already had their whole life here. They maybe not need to get the network that I need. So that's why, for me, I still don't know as many Finns as I would have liked.
So for you, it's more like your networks do not overlap with locals that much. Interesting.
Exactly.
Interesting. Okay.
Okay, I said no, I disagree, because I had lived in two cities, Turku and Espoo, and I find Turku is very much student-friendly city, and it's very compact, like you can have a lot of things at one single place as compared to Espoo, that is totally dispersed. So that's one of the reasons, like you can get to see, and you can there was some time like I was seeing a single person many times a day at different locations, because like that's how a small and closely the society is. So, and also it's the thing that it's depend on you, how you get out of your bubble and interact with other students. And for example, I believe that most of the international programs, there are Finnish students as well. You get to know them and you get a chance to make a relationship, a friendship with them. So that's also one of the another opportunities. It's also depend on you. Like Turku give you options, but you also have to give some efforts.
Great answer. Thank you very much. Benjamin?
Yeah, I have to come back to Rosa's answer. For some, let's say for 40%, I agree with you. You have to be open for the culture. You have to do it. But on the other hand, I always say it should be the two ways, connection. So even though if you try your best and you try everything to become one of the locals and to see whatever they are doing, but the acceptation of the Finnish culture, it should be also more open. And when it doesn't happen that fast, don't give up. Don't think, hey, it doesn't work. You see, they are really reserved. They don't like us. They don't. That's not how it works. Finnish people, Finnish culture, it might be at the first look, when you look at it, it might look like really cold, but they are more reserved, like to see what kind of person is it. And I always say it's hard to have a Finnish friend, but when you have it for life.
Great answer.
Yeah.
Actually, a great answer, Will. Thank you very much.
Yep.
Well, we have another poll coming up. I hope so. Do we? Yes, we do. All right. So this is about the network. Which network method do you believe is the most effective for finding a job in Finland? The options were attending industry-specific events or joining professional clubs, using LinkedIn and other professional online platforms, participating in internships, volunteering or meeting people through hobbies and other free time activities, and reaching out to alumni or mentors. Here we have a quite interesting division between attending industry-specific events and participating in internship. Out of all the options, if you remembered them, which would you think, in your opinion, is the best one? Let's go from Benjamin and then come back.
Okay. Yeah, in my case, it works like, that's my own experience, how I end up with the job in Finland. It goes through the hobbies, you know, when you join those clubs and you are with the same people with the same interest, that's easier to have the small talk, and then little by little, because you have one shared points, that's your hobby, and after that, it can be number two, and you kind of start a little small talks, and then little by little know the people. So that's how I got my job. So
nice.
I would go absolutely for a hobby and clubs.
Yeah, okay. So people, you need to have a hobby. Don't be stuck in the university and just study.
We all have, but somehow maybe we don't even know it. At some point, they ask me, what's your hobby? I like my work. I love it so much.
Yeah.
That's also my hobby. If after my work, I prepare my work for the next day. That's my hobby.
You know what they say, that if your work is your hobby, then you don't have a work.
Yep.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a full-time hobby. I don't have a work.
Okay, Mahnoor.
I have very different opinions. So I will go for the option for LinkedIn and internship, because I got my job through LinkedIn, and first I was intern in the company, and then I got selected for a full-time employee. And actually, this internship was the reason of another internship that I was doing in the university, and I got to know about this company. So previously I was the customer of company, and then I got to know about the job internship position on the LinkedIn. So yes, you need to target the companies, or at least have connections with them on LinkedIn, or get to know where they advertise their jobs opportunities, etc. So that definitely helped.
Yes, a small question. Did you meet people before trying, the people in person before trying to connect with them in the LinkedIn? Or was it more like a subtle?
No, actually not. I didn't meet anyone. It was like, just go like this. And
interesting.
yeah.
Thank you very much. Nural?
I think I'm torn between like LinkedIn and that route versus the mentoring, because I did get some coaching that helped me shape my LinkedIn profile as well with a brand new eye. In Turkey, at the time that I was working, it wasn't as impactful to have a good LinkedIn profile, whereas here I see that it's quite big. But also a mentor, someone who has gone through what you're now going through, is very beneficial in this like brainstorming in a way that you get to shift ideas and get some input. So those two, I would say.
Okay, thank you very much. Roza?
And I think I'm going to cheat and choose all of the options, because I could not choose one or the other, because all of these again form a wholeness. Because again, actually there was a study that the weaker links might lead to more professional connections. Because another thing is that when you have, if we're talking about like the connections and networks, right? if you are within a same professional networks, they already know all your qualities, so they cannot think of you differently. Let's say if you know that you are doing this thing, they see you only like that. So even if there are many other options that would fit you, they would not recommend you. So from that perspective, having wide networks, weaker links, maybe somebody you met at a dog park or your child's daycare or school may lead you actually to land you that job that you're dreaming of. And the rest that you mentioned, I can't even remember all the options, but all of them form it because, again, if I go back to my personal experience, there was a time that I got my first job in Finland through just a friend from a language class. So it was not anything professional, and they didn't even know much about my professional background, but it was a friend. Another job that I landed, the current one that I have actually, was from an internship. So again, that was great. On the other hand, again, like LinkedIn has been very resourceful because I've expanded my professional network. So if it was to happen, that maybe, hopefully not, I lose my job with the city, I do have a safety network. So again, I would not just think about it from just one perspective of that job, but also like as you are having your job, expanding, planning for future, it's kind of like computing in your head all the time. So yes.
So you should take everything into account to a certain degree.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for those interesting insights. I want to touch on a small topic that was already a bit covered during the interview. In the poll, there were options about the professional organizations and the hobbies and whatnot. But would you say that there are a lot of opportunities for this in Turku? Are there a lot of organizations, a lot of courses, a lot of events that you can attend to? Is this a good starting point for, let's say, for starting your network? Yes, okay. It would have been really bad if you answered no and study and stay in Turku. But to be more specific, what were things in Turku that helped you the most at the beginning of your career? It's a bit personal one, if you don't mind. Let's start from Roza.
So what were most?
What was the most helpful at the beginning?
Well, I believe personally, because I moved to Turku to study here, of course, the university was a strong base because it helped me shape my professional background. It gave me the opportunities, if I can a little bit expand about it, for example, because when you're studying in here, you also do get an opportunity for an internship. Right? Like I said, the current job that I have was through an internship. Because otherwise, if you are not studying, for example, it might not even be possible to get an internship because of some legal issues and whatnot. So I would say that base, for me, was the strongest.
All right, thank you very much.
For me, coaching and mentoring was the key, I guess, because I got so many great tips that helped me do my applications very differently than what I used to do. Initially, when I was first searching for a job, I applied to anything and everything with the same exact CV. And then after getting some mentoring and coaching and discussing how it needs to be very individualized, at least in the Finnish market, not everywhere still, but here, you need to stand out. And especially if like 100 people are applying to the same thing, you really, really need to stand out. And that you can do by customizing. So when I got this job, I only applied to a handful of things, got interviews with half of them, and it worked for me. So that's what I would suggest.
Okay, thank you very much.
So I will talk from my experience. I came here as a student in University of Turku. And I feel that Turku and especially the university give you a lot of opportunity to grow. For example, I can talk a few about like you have internships and you have some semester exchange program. And even I remember still in my times, there were some sessions where they help you in improving your resume. And they also have some mock interviews where you can go and practice your interview if you have some specific interviews. So university helps you a lot in shaping your future and give you a lot of opportunities. And especially the research area. If I talk specifically about biomedical imaging, so that has a very good research option and future here in Turku. So definitely Turku is a good option.
Okay, nice to hear. Benjamin?
Yeah, I have total different story from all those ladies. So I don't know even if you want to hear it. But once when I was on holiday from the Netherlands in Sweden, I heard there is a ship between Stockholm and Turku. I've never been in Finland, so we took the ship. We came. The first place was in Turku, and I immediately loved it. And I was like, wow, I love this city. So we stayed like 2 days. And then we went back. I went back to the Netherlands, and I booked the next time to go fly to Helsinki, see the Helsinki, and then come again to Turku. I still love Turku, and after a year, I decided to move to Turku, and I've done it in the way that I wouldn't recommend anyone to do it. I just stopped my job, sold everything what I had in the Netherlands, and I had one big luggage with me, and I was at the airport in Helsinki without having anything, but I was there.
Wow.
And then I started my life in Turku.
Yes.
I think what you just mentioned, you sound like you would be one of our nightmare clients at International House Turku, because usually we have people come and ask for help, but they move here with a purpose, right? Then we know, like, oh, you came to study, maybe you can do this and that, but that would be quite a rare case that, oh, I just love the city, I want to stay. But even if that, just what I wanted to say, definitely like the university and coaching is great, but again, don't forget that outside of the university bubble, there are the city services, there are associations, there are NGOs, there is so much. So if you just have the will to explore, there is a possibility to find all this information.
Yeah, very good insights. Thank you very much for your answers. And we are deeply in our panel discussion, and I want to bring attention from here to there and get a couple of questions from our chat. There were actually worthy ones.
Yeah, I have a question that seems like you guys can, because networking has been the heart of tonight. I think everyone is focusing on that you need to get out of the bubble, you need to network and everything. And still there is one person who thinks that it's just not their thing, they're not communicative. So they're asking that if you have to sell yourself and put yourself out there, what about those who actually have more skills but are not communicative? What is your advice for such people? Maybe Roza can start?
Yes, I do understand that sometimes also the term networking is in a way misinterpreted, that you just have to go out, you have to talk, you have to be bubbly and chatty. That's not necessarily the case, because a lot of times a networking might be just saying hi to your next door neighbor, and then you build some kind of relationship. And then earlier also the trust was mentioned. You start building a trust that, okay, at least this person is polite, they're saying hi. So it does not really mean that you have to tell them about your thesis work, about your aspirations. No, absolutely not. But also on the other hand, what I would recommend this person giving a second thought is that you might have amazing skills. You might be a super professional who has years and years of experience in your country. But if nobody knows about that here, maybe you're not in a good place, because part of the job hunting is getting the other person to know and recognize your skills. Because again, I might think of myself as an amazing expert, but if that one employer that I'm trying to find the attention of doesn't think the same way, then I'm not getting that job. So again, try to get in the head of the employer and communicating. Maybe transfer the word like networking into communicating, but at least like a minimum communication of skills is important.
So you would say that maybe you don't have to be the social butterfly flying around the room, but just trying to say hi to people where otherwise you wouldn't is already a big step forward.
Yes, maybe start from that. And again, remember also, I think going back earlier to Aima's question, like what are the pitfalls? A lot of times as an international moving here, especially when we have limited time, let's say you came to do a degree here, oh, in 2 years, you think I have to do this, 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 that. You get the pressure, you put your bars too high. You immediately think that, oh, I have to, know this person, make the networks, but no, just very that kind of small things actually build up the pathway.
Okay, thank you.
And if I might add, if we go back to Hassan's presentation, what he mentioned, if you're one of the people here inside and you don't ask me the question, I wouldn't remember you after this. But if you ask me one question, I will remember your question, I will remember your name. So he or she doesn't have to be very communicative, but ask the right question in the right time at the right place. That might be only one question that helps him. So as Roza said, you don't have to be very communicative and be the social media guru and you know everything about the communication, but just one question. But I would say try to be the one, but not in the communicative way. If you're not that communicative, bring yourself out, even with one question.
Okay, small steps going forward.
I mean, I was actually thinking the same exact thing in a way.
Oh, sorry.
Like, no. No, I think you worded it really well. Like, being intentional is, I think, more important than just networking for the sake of networking. Like, I probably come across as more extroverted than I am, and networking is so hard for me. Like, it's really hard to go up to someone to introduce myself, so I choose not to do it. Like, I hate calling people on the phone and all of those things. But then when you know what you want, you need to show the effort to go after it. Like, you need to take the steps. And being intentional, maybe instead of reaching out to 10 people, reaching out to one specific individual, that would balance things.
Okay. Mahnoor?
Yeah, I think it has been like they have given so many good advices that I'm left with nothing.
Can I actually ask you the question here? Nural, you mentioned that you need to be somewhat genuine when you're trying to approach people for the network. Like Hassan was saying that you need to meet at least 3 people, but if you approach those 3 people and just say, oh, your talk was so insightful, I really liked it. What do you remember from my talk? Beginning and the end, maybe? Yeah, like, that's not a good approach to network, but what tactics you would use in order to find something that you are actually interested in that can help you to network better?
That's a pretty difficult thing to find the common interest with the other person, but maybe you can start from one basic thing and then try to build your talk on that and get to know about more about other person. For example, maybe you can, if you're like talking with any colleague or your friend, then you can exactly not non-friend person, for example. So maybe you can start with hobbies and develop your talk on it. But in the professional life, maybe you can ask a simple question, and asking question is very, very important thing to start in a communication, and don't ever feel like you're asking some dumb question. Maybe you can develop a good relationship with your colleague or your other person. So always be open with questions or take a step to start.
Try to research, try to find the thing that interests you to some degree, and then approach them with the question.
Yeah, but don't do research too much or think too much. Just keep it natural.
Okay, well, don't stalk. Yep. So, well, thank you very much for joining this panel, this discussion. We covered a lot of interesting topics, and I hope that everyone in the audience took something from it. And before we move on to our final closing words, I would like to ask our audience to give a big round of applause to our panelists, please. Great.
Okay, so we hope you enjoyed the evening and you have learned one thing, that is to network, network, and network. Grow your network, and you're going to get this opportunity right here as well. So there were so many inspiring talks and ideas and advices. So if something sparked tonight, you can get in contact with us and our panelists on LinkedIn and other social media platforms, and we'll be happy to help.
Absolutely. A huge thank you to our keynote speaker, Hassan, to our career experts, Roza and Nural, and our amazing alumni, Benjamin and Mahnoor. And of course, our biggest thanks goes to you, our audience. Thank you very much for being with us for 1.5 hours. Thank you.
And with that, I would like to extend the thanks to our online audience as well. Thank you for bearing with us. And if you are considering studying in Turku, don't forget to join tomorrow's Study in Turku application webinar, where you are going to get information about the programs, deadlines, and what documents you need to submit. And registering is very, very easy. All you need to do is scan the QR code and register, so don't forget to register.
Yep. And for those who are here on site, don't leave yet. It's been mentioned before, we will have a networking session right after this, where you can discuss what you heard today and maybe talk to our beautiful panelists, if they didn't leave already. Yeah. And of course, enjoy refreshments and snacks.
And also don't forget to grab your stickers, which will help you connect with like-minded people and make networking easier for those of you who are not used to it. So the idea is that you can grab the stickers, and with that, you can connect with people who are wearing the same stickers, and you are free to connect with people who are wearing a different sticker as well. So I can briefly walk you through what the stickers really are. So the ones with rocket mean entrepreneurs and innovators. The one with handshake are for professionals and specialists. And finally, the one with magnifying glass are for scholars and researchers.
Yep. We wish you all the best in your study and career.
And thank you again for spending your time with us. Your energy made our evening.
Bye
and see you in Turku.